I've mentioned a few inspirations over the course of these videos. Mass Effect, The Long Dark, No Man's Sky, and it's time to add another one. The Elder Scrolls series, definitely Skyrim, Oblivion, and even back to Morrowind, um, had a fascinating feature to me where you couldn't know what the ingredient of alchemy was unless you consumed it. Now, I think you could do it if you also just tested it out, but I really like the idea of not knowing what something is until you've done something with it, right? Given some action that can be tracked. And in the case of these resources that I've said now throughout 5 prior videos that I wanted to be randomized, I also wanted the effect of what they do to be randomized, both to the player and to what can be done when it gets crafted together eventually. So phase 6, which was again another 10 plus hours that's being crammed into a few minutes of a video here. This was all about resource consumption. And and again, items started with an unknown question mark, question mark, question mark for what they do when you consume them. And they needed to be consumed to get tested out. So this phase was, first of all, removing the item correctly when it's being consumed, learning the effect upon consumption. So basically telling the game, okay, the player has consumed it. So now the next time that you click on it, we could tell the player what it is that it does. And then the fun part, and I say fun both somewhat sarcastically, but also genuinely, because it was fun to go through all the effects that I created and apply them to the character. So if I said the player, the player would continuously lose health, well, I had to then have the player continuously lose health, which was also another example. I won't call this like scope creep because this wasn't something that, in the moment I was like, oh, I could do this and this and this. This was always planned on some level or another. This is the example of now doing the thing you wanted to do. So this phase was really deep in the woods for me because this is what I wanted to do all along. I wanted to have the player be able to pick up resources, not know what they were, not know what they do, and finally learn that firsthand and experience it firsthand. And so obviously I had to code each one of those, which was actually, again, I say it somewhat sarcastically, it was a very fun part because I got to go through each idea, each feature, and ask it to affect the player somehow. And this came out with probably the most important thing that I think I started in phase 5, did not talk about it in phase 5, but I think I started it then, and it's critically important here. It was navigating game states. It was when the player is in a menu state, you can't move, can't lose health, because I may have said this actually. I didn't want the player to be able to consume something and then just wait in the inventory screen for a while and not get affected. So no, I wanted it to affect when you're out of the menu screen in what I'm calling the active game state, and then stop the effect when you go to the inventory, and then continue if the time didn't run out. So this phase was also a lot about navigating game states, which I have found to be incredibly helpful because you can wrap a lot of things inside those game states, and that was how that was the finish of phase 6.